Hello again. Hope you've all had a lovely day so far. Well, for many of us, the weather has been fairly decent across the region this afternoon. However, the next few days will be changeable. So there will be spells of rain at times. At this stage, it looks like Friday will be the better day with some bright or sunny spells before it turns unsettled again for the weekend. So the reason for this setup, well, we've got low pressure over the next 24 hours, bringing some wet and windy weather with it. That moves out of the way. Then we do have a ridge of high pressure, so a fine end to the working week before the next system comes our way on Saturday, bringing more rain, some blustery winds, but it will be accompanied by some fairly mild air. Now, in the meantime, for the rest of tonight, we're largely dry at the moment with some clear skies. However, you can see during the small hours, we have this system working its way through. That will bring some heavy rain into places and blustery winds too. So Met Office weather warnings in force throughout tomorrow morning. As you can see here, some heavy, persistent rainfall may lead to some localised flooding. Could be a tricky rush hour for some of all of that spray around, and it will be blustery too, especially along the south coast. It will start to improve later on in the day, but all in all, it remains grotty and murky out there. Highs anywhere between 7 and 10 degrees, so certainly feeling a little bit fresher out there. Then, as I mentioned earlier, we have that ridge of high pressure on Friday, so give or take a little bit of rain to begin with. For most of us, it should be a fine and dry end to the working week before this next system behind me here starts to work its way towards us. So that is going to bring some wet and windy weather into the weekend, but you can see here temperatures will be climbing. We're back up to highs around 14 degrees by the time we get to Saturday. Bye-bye. Hello again. Hope you've all had a lovely day so far. Well, for many of us, the weather was fairly decent across the region throughout today. However, over the next few days, it's more a changeable story. So there will be spells of rain on and off at times. It looks like at this stage, Friday will be the better day with some bright or sunny spells before it turns unsettled again for the weekend. So let's take a look at that in a bit more detail. You can see we've got low pressure driving a system our way over the next 24 hours, which will bring some wet and windy weather. Then that moves out of the way, and we do have a ridge of high pressure on Friday. So once the early rain moves out of the way, for most of us, it will be dry and bright. And then at this stage, the weekend is going to bring more wet and windy weather, only this time it will be accompanied by some pretty mild temperatures. Now, in the meantime, for the rest of tonight, we can see quiet out there at the moment with some clear skies, but then the cloud will increase, and eventually we're going to see some rain sweeping its way towards us, and those winds will strengthen too. So Met Office weather warnings come into force overnight tonight and into tomorrow. Some persistent heavy rain may lead to some issues with some localised flooding, and it will be blustery out there too, especially along coastal parts. The rain tending to ease off a touch as we go through the afternoon, but the winds coming down from a more northerly direction mean a little bit fresher out there. Highs between 8 and 11 degrees. 11 is 52 in Fahrenheit. And then looking further ahead, well, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a ridge of high pressure on Friday. So for many of us, a decent end to the working week. But you can see behind me here, this system coming our way will bring some wet and windy weather just in time for the weekend. I'll see you a bit later on. Bye-bye. Hello and a very good evening to you. So there will be spells of rain on and off as we go through the next few days or so. At this stage, it looks like Friday will be the driest of the days with some bright or sunny spells across the country before it turns unsettled again over the weekend. Now, for the rest of tonight, we've still got some dry and clear weather holding on, but you can see this rain is going to push its way in from the southwest. Some of it will be heavy in places, and those winds here will start to strengthen too. So that's how we start things tomorrow morning. The further north that you are, it looks like you will see a good deal of dry weather, albeit quite cloudy on Thursday, but there will be spells of rain elsewhere, and some of that rain heavy and persistent, and those winds will be quite blustery along the south too. But you can see some brighter skies developing during the afternoon, but it will be on the fresh side. Highs there between 7 and 10 degrees at Cardiff. And then, as I mentioned earlier, by the time we get to Friday, we've got a ridge of high pressure. So for most of us, it should be a fine, dry and bright end to the working week before low pressure brings more outbreaks of rain on Saturday. Blustery winds will also be bringing some fairly mild temperatures. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Hello there. So an unsettled and wet start to Thursday morning. Some of this rain heavy and persistent across parts of the islands, and it will be windy out there too. Those winds gusting up to around 50 miles per hour. Now the rain will start to ease as we go through the day, but it stays blustery. Highs today of 14 degrees. Bye-bye.